Welcome to Baxter Bell Yoga. I'm Baxter Bell, and two quick things before we jump into our practice today. First, if you're watching this on YouTube and you find the video valuable, please like it. Secondly, if you want to learn more about my yoga teaching, whether that's yoga classes online or in person, yoga privates or yoga therapy privates, or upcoming workshops and retreats, there's one easy place to find all that information. That's my website, baxterbell.com. So without further ado, let's jump right into our practice. I'm getting back to my roots today because I'm going to be sharing with you a balancing pose. And of course, when I started making these Baxter Bell Yoga videos, 4 or 5 years ago, can't remember exactly how long it's been now, it was all about balance. I was creating many new balance sequences and balance poses and sharing them far and wide. And we've gone to other things and I've kind of filled in with other content, but I wanted to present again another variation of a classic yoga balance pose. And it turns out that tree pose is actually, as far as we know, one of the older asanas that we can find documented in some of the yoga texts from the Middle Ages. If you want to read a fascinating book about the original yoga poses, you might read the book Original Yoga by Richard Rosen, a colleague and actually a past mentor of mine. It's a great read, and he mentions that that tree pose is one of the few standing poses that we can actually find documentation for in those earliest texts. So we're going to be doing what I call the floating foot version of tree pose. And so we're going to imagine that we're coming into the full pose, but we're not going to bring our foot right up against the leg. This is actually going to be probably, for many of you, a little more challenging for your balance. So if you need to, feel free to step back so there's a wall just a few inches behind you, or you could pull a chair up and off to one side so your hand could have access to a chair on either side for quick support if you find that you need that. So to do this pose, we're going to just need a clear space to work in. And you're going to stand with your feet a little bit closer together than the typical mountain pose that I like to teach in my classes. So the feet come in a little bit, and then I'm going to shift the weight over onto the right leg. So there's a literal shift of a couple of inches to the side. And I like to have my arms already a little bit out to the side for balance. And then remember, you've got a couple of choices. So we can pivot with the ball of the foot on the floor and have that heel a couple inches away from the inner ankle. As I pivot and turn my leg, the hips stay even side to side, so I'm not drawing that hip back away from the wall that I'm facing. So this is one option. That's a nice option. Another option is to float the foot up so that it hovers just to the inside of the calf. And as I look down, I lost my balance there. So let me try that again. So I'm going to lift that foot up so it's just to the inside of the calf, but I'm not actually touching the calf. Another option would be to float the foot up a little higher so it's just above the knee joint, and then some of you might bring it up higher, but watch out for this hip hiking up towards the sky. Once you've got the floating foot spot that's good for you, we're going to hang out there for a moment, and you can keep the arms out to the sides. You can float the arms up 3/4. You could even take them up towards the sky. If you begin to lose balance, see if you can correct your balance without bringing your foot down or without touching your inner leg, right? So we're going to keep that little space. So tree pose with a floating foot. Then bring the foot down. Oh, that feels good to find ground again. And then you might just sway your hips a little bit side to side. So because I'm floating that leg up, I'm feeling a lot more work in the outer hip muscles to keep that leg up in the air, right? So normally once the foot rests onto the leg, those muscles can relax a little bit. So a little more work in the hips today. Let's try the second side. So we're going to shift onto that left foot, bring the arms a little bit out to the sides. Again, you can do the version with the toes on the floor, but just don't bring the heel right up to touch the leg. That again will create a little more mild instability and make it more interesting to work. And then from here, energizing the leg, you can float the foot up a little bit so it's kind of in line with your calf, or you could bring it up so the heel is just above the knee joint, or you could try and hike it up a little higher without hiking the hip. So find that spot and then arms directly out to the side, gaze forward, arms a little bit higher, or maybe arms up alongside the ears. So at first you may not be able to hold that quite as long as you would for your normal tree pose because it's a lot more work than you might normally expend. So you might find that you have to shorten it a little bit. Let's try it one more time on each side. So feet close together, shifting to the right, and then you decide, toes on the floor, foot alongside the calf
at the knee or a little higher. Find your spot, find your balance. If you start to lose your balance, see if you can use your arms to help correct you from falling. And then we're just going to stay here for a couple breaths on each side the second time through. Good. And then bring the foot down, bring the arms down. And again, maybe sway those hips a little bit side to side. Let's try the second side. So shifting onto the left leg. Get the arms helping you a little bit already. Pick your spot. And then maintain that as you find the destination for the arms that feels right for you. So I'm kind of giving you the classic arms towards the sky, but again, lots of options on where you work with the arms. Another factor is how calm can my breath stay while I'm balancing here. Good, the floating foot version of tree pose. Bring it down. You might tap out the hips and the outer hips and the front hips. And then just enjoy feeling nice and grounded on 2 feet. It's always really great for me personally to come back to terra firma and feel that nice grounding of mountain pose. So there you have it, the foot-free version of tree pose. Play around with that in your practice this week. And if you like these shorter videos, please join me for a longer online live streaming yoga class. I have classes 5 days a week. You can find my schedule on my website. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video and follow me on Facebook also at Baxter Bell Yoga. Until the next time, thank you for joining me here at Baxter Bell Yoga. Namaste.